The South African Broadcasting Corporation says it's not seeking another bailout from government, but attention has to be given to its current funding model, which is said to be unsustainable. The public broadcaster appeared before the Standing Committee on Public Accounts to respond to a range of issues yesterday. The public broadcaster received an unqualified audit opinion.
When the SABC is pushing, for example, for the resolution of the SABC bill, it's because the matter has become quite urgent. And I think it's critical for me to talk to that, because the current funding of the SABC is unsustainable. It would be remiss of me not to say that. We've spoken about the competitiveness in this industry, whereby there's new competitors that have entered our market, and we are genuinely unable to compete at the speed of change with our current funding. We genuinely are not in the market for a bailout. But what we are asking is that the SABC must be funded in order to deliver the public mandate.
Expand on this, we're joined now by Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Mondli Gungubele. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I mean, the SABC board is pretty confident that the public broadcaster can survive without another government bailout, but it will need a guarantee from the government as the sole shareholder. What's your reaction to the sentiment?
Good evening, Paul. Good evening to your viewership. Thanks for the opportunity. Actually, what the CEO is saying is that the Broadcasting Corporation is not asking for a bailout. Mm-hmm. Is asking for a funding, and the two are different. The point why is he actually raising that is that our country is quite far behind in as far as this matter is concerned. Yeah. We are not in sync with a number of countries. If you look at even the first world countries, which are not even developmental countries, Switzerland leading, UK, German, all those countries fund their public broadcasting, what to call institutions. South Africa is rated, actually it's not even rated as one of the funders. If you remember that we're only giving around 3 to 3 point something percentage. So what actually the CEO is saying South Africa must live up to its principles, one, of ensuring that the people are informed, they're educated, they're entertained, and people who are poor have got access to information. And the only way they can have access to information is when we actually make sure that we, through the SABC bill, we actually find a funding model that will keep SABC afloat.
So the importance of the government guarantee, I mean, you make mention of it, it cannot be understated. So the SABC can properly be funded to deliver on its public mandate and required by the public broadcaster when it needs to go out to the market to do business with other companies and institutions, and also the new competitors which have entered the market. As you look at what's been put on the table, what are the probabilities of attaining some of these requests and the considerations that still need to be made to get there, to get to the SABC, to that level of competition with that cash injection?
Well, there's a bill now in Parliament.
Yeah.
All what that bill needs, amongst other things, is to make sure that a section that enables the funding model that is innovative, one that ensures that SABC's requirement to execute the public interest mandate is actually funded. So that as SABC is competing, SABC must be able to do that. SABC has got the biggest reach and the highest audience in South Africa. Mm-hmm. SABC, in spite of the digital media, that is actually exponentially increased a lot of platforms, as a result of which what has happened is that the advertising inventories have become high, the supply has become high, not only SABC is supplying those. Because of that situation, SABC is not the only one that supplies. Now the cost of doing that has gone down, and then the audiences have got different choices, and SABC is competing with unregulated streaming services. And to compete against unregulated streaming services, you are actually held back from competing, because you cannot actually compete at equal level with them. As a result, your commercial competitive side does not give the returns, which returns have been used to fund the public interest mandate. You need, therefore, to make sure that the state come to the fore, actually give account of itself in as far as funding the public interest mandate is concerned, so that it does not depend fully on the commercial, what to call, commercial mandate, on the commercial, what to call, the commercial, what to call aspect of it, which is struggling because it's competing against the unregulated streams.
I know that your department was said to be considering the introduction of a levy on streaming services to fund the broadcasters. And we know that some countries have succeeded in generated income for broadcasting in this manner, but others have experienced unintended consequences. Would a streaming levy really solve the SABC's funding woes more? As critics have questioned if forcing streaming platforms to implement a levy to fund the SABC is even a viable solution?
Well, I think it's an established convention that you don't get into a country and make money without paying dues that any other taxpayer pays. For instance, if you come to South Africa, you use its environment, and you use its orderly environment that provides you with infrastructure and space, and make money. You're supposed to pay something to this country so that it continues to sustain you. What is happening here is that the unregulated streams are actually running away with murder. Other countries have already done that. I was advised a few days ago that even Australia and other countries are making these other platforms, be it Facebook, Google, and so on, to actually pay a certain amount of money to the public interest mandate, because any country, especially a developmental country, that does not guarantee funding to the public interest mandate, especially to the people who cannot afford the other streams. What you are doing, you are creating conditions of a society that is misinformed, that is misled, and you know the consequences of a misinformed society. Therefore, the issue in South Africa, by constitution, is that our people must be educated, they must be informed, and they must be entertained, especially those who cannot afford the what to call the other streams.
As we listen to the SABC Group CEO, Nomsa Chabedi, saying that what they're doing really is pushing for the passing of the SABC bill because a new funding model has become a matter of urgency. What is it looking like? What are the delays as we look at moving to that point where it is indeed passed? Well,
I guess the chairperson of the portfolio committee would be better placed to explain that, because that bill has been was forwarded to them by the minister. You remember there was a confusion on whether it should be withdrawn or not, and I think there has been engagement, in my view, which actually where it has not been withdrawn. Therefore, it has not been. If it has not been withdrawn, it means it must be processed. If it is being processed, it is urgent to make sure that the funding model is taken care of as a form of an amendment, because, like the CEO has said, SABC cannot afford living on a shoestring that it's living on now any longer, because the consequences are dire. Remember, the biggest challenge that SABC is facing, among others, is that they are supposed to fund aging technology. They are supposed to modernize in order to compete with their peers. They are supposed to invest in infrastructure which is dilapidated. They are supposed to maintain. Now, what they are doing now, they have done something which is just not accepted, using their operation expenditure to fund CAPEX. When they do that, there's a lot of other activities, other services that are not going to be funded, which are due to society when you fund something else.
Yeah, hence the passing of the SABC bill is a matter of urgency. I would have loved for us to explore and expand a little further, but unfortunately we're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Mondli Gungubele.